Thank you for joining in this class on Jyotish Foundation. So we have been covering the planets from the moon, okay? And if anyone remembers how many planets we covered, it would be really, really nice because I have forgotten till what we covered, okay? So I think we covered till Mars, or I don't remember actually. But if you do, then if you've attended the last class, if you remember what has been covered, you can tell me. Okay, but before we begin, let's start with the daily Shanti mantra from the Upanishads. Okay. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahana Bhunakato Sah Viryankara Vavahai Tejasvi Nada Ditamastu Mavidvishavahai Om Shante 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 He. Okay. So does anyone remember where we started, or since? If not, I have to. No, it's the answer.
I think we were doing Mars in 11th house from moon.
Mars we have completed, I suppose, right? Okay. So in that case, we'll start with Mercury. Okay. So if Mars has not been covered, please let me know in the last, if Mars has not been covered, please let me know, because then we can do it in the next class. Okay. But anyways, so Mercury in the first house of from the moon, that means Mercury in the same house as the moon. Okay. So this makes you emotionally very dry, because Mercury is one planet that will pull out all the water from the moon. Okay, remember the story of the planets. Mercury is the illegitimate child of the moon. Okay, so Mercury is one that pulls out all the water from the moon. So as I said, it makes one very emotionally dry. Okay, and it can also give you a very unsettled life. That means you will be forever on the move. Okay, Mercury in the second house from the moon, this brings wealth, comfort, but it also gives you ailments, arising due to vata. That means ailments, illnesses arising out of cold. Okay, Mercury in the third house from the moon, so this makes you have a very assorted way of speaking. It also makes you have a lot of benefits from the government, as well as it makes you have a lot of clarity in your thoughts. Okay, Mercury in the fourth house from the moon, so this is not good for relationship with maternal figures or mother figures, but it gives you, it gives you a good amount of comfort with regards to vehicles. Okay, Mercury in the fifth house from the moon, so this makes you intelligent. Okay, it makes you intelligent. It gives you a very good grasp of mantras, but then it makes you fork tongue. It makes you have a fork tongue. Fork tongue means, someone who speaks in two different ways. Okay, or someone who does not have the same standards for everyone. Okay, then Mercury in the sixth house from the moon, this makes you miserly, coward. It makes you scared of conflicts. Okay, and it represents a hairy body. Remember, as I said, hair is always Mercury. Anything that grows, anything that covers your body is Mercury. That means the first line of defense, the first thing that covers your body is your skin. So your skin is Mercury. Similarly, what grows over your skin that covers your body, that is hair. So hair is also Mercury. Okay, so Mercury in the sixth from the moon gives you a very hairy body. It gives you a very hairy body. Never have the misconception that hair is Saturn. People have this misconception. And from that, another misconception has come, you should never shave or you should never cut off your hair on Saturdays. Okay. In reality, you should not shave or you should not cut off your hair on Wednesdays. Okay. Yeah. Skin is related to, no, skin and hair is both Mercury. Okay. Because what happens is when Mercury is getting afflicted by Rahu, then what happens is skin is getting impacted. Okay. Nails is Saturn, because nails are made up of dead cells. Okay. So it will give PCOD too. Not exactly. Okay, not exactly. PCOD is not a symptom of having a hairy body. I also have a lot of hairs on my body. Do I have PCOD? I don't. PCOD is a very, stress related issue. Okay, PCOD is an issue that comes from Mars. Okay, and why PCOD comes? When you are not accepting of everything and everyone around you. If you have certain, if you have certain disagreements with your environment and with the people you are living with, then you get PCOD. All right, if you have some emotional imbalance in your formative years as a, as a child, then you have PCOD. Okay, so once you start accepting people and situations as they are, you can cure PCOD. Okay, then comes Mercury in the 7th house from the moon. So this makes you a very handpicked guy. Okay, that means you'll be dominated by women, not only by the spouse, but even your female friends will dominate you. Okay, but it gives you a long life. It also makes you very stingy. Okay, Mercury in the 8th house from the moon. So this gives you a good understanding of finance and money related matters. And it also, it also gives you some amount of fame. It makes you famous amongst your friends. Okay, then Mercury in the 9th house from the moon. So this is a combination for atheism. Okay, this is not only a combination for atheism, it is also a combination for conversion. That means some people who convert to other religions because they don't find satisfaction and happiness from their own religion. That is also a combination. Okay, so see, if you have friends who have who have converted to other religion, you'll see those people will have Mercury in the 9th from the moon. Why Mercury 8th from the moon is good? Because it gives you a very good understanding of finances. Okay, money management. Okay, it can give you a good understanding of the markets as well. Okay, Mercury in the 10th house from the moon. So this is a Raja Yoga because it makes you an excellent short-term planner. That means you can, if you have a large task at hand, you can break it down into simpler tasks and then solve all those tasks one by one. All right. Then Mercury in the 11th house from the moon, it brings you gains at each step. Okay, whatever work you do, you will gain from it. Okay, and the problem is it can give you 2 marriages. Okay, that is one problem. Mercury in the 12th house from the moon, so it makes you very stingy. It gives you sleeping troubles as well. Okay, not while growing up, but in your childhood years. Okay, it gives you sleeping problems. Why sleeping problems? Because the natural 12th house is Pisces. Okay, the natural 12th house is Pisces, and Pisces is all about water. So Mercury is the Prithvi Tattva, right? It is the planet representing Prithvi Tattva. So what happens is every time Mercury goes into the 12th house from the moon, that Prithvi Tattva of Mercury disturbs the water. Okay, that means it makes the water very muddy, and that gives you a disturbed sleep because your brain is continuously going on and on and on and on and on. Okay. Next comes Jupiter. All right, just give me a second. Okay, so next we come to Jupiter. So Jupiter with the moon, this gives you a very, very pleasing personality. Okay, Jupiter with the moon also keeps you disease free. And the best thing about Jupiter with the moon is you don't need to worry about your wealth ever. Okay, somehow from some place money will land up for you. Okay, then Jupiter in the 2nd house from the moon. So this brings respect from from the government in the modern times. It also gives you a long life. Okay, it gives you a long life. It also makes you very courageous in action, in speech. Jupiter in the 3rd house from the moon. So this gives you a bad character. Okay, this gives you a bad character, and even your father may have a bad character. Plus, it makes you a very timid guy or a timid. It brings a lot of timidity in you. Okay, Jupiter in the 4th house from the moon. So this makes this gives you good conveyances. This gives you a good lifestyle, and however, it can give you trouble from your maternal side. That means from your maternal relatives. Okay, it can also make you serve in the house of others. That means it can make you work under someone. Okay, so in the modern times, it is actually considered to be good. Why good? Because working under someone could also mean working under the government. All right. So next, Jupiter in the 5th house from the moon. So this gives you, blessings with regards to children, especially sons. It also gives you, it can make you pot bellied very quickly. Okay. Well, even if you eat a little, it can make you have a big belly. Okay. You can use this for D1. Okay. You can use this for D1. You can use this for D9 as well. Not any other Virga chart. Okay. D1 is the outer show that we have. Okay. D9 is the internal thing. I'll teach you how to read D9. D9 is read very differently. Okay. Then Jupiter in the 6th house from the moon. So this makes you, this makes you not have your own property. Okay, that means, for example, I have a friend who has Jupiter in the 6th house from the moon. So his father has a lot of property, but he has no inclination for getting any property of his own. He thinks that why should I have it? Because I'm the only child of my father. I have a sister, and we will do with this property. Okay, so that is the inclination. Parashara says that bereft of home, bereft of property. It does not mean that you will be not having a home at all. It could also mean that your father has a lot of property, but you are not interested in it. Okay, Jupiter in the 6th house is also very good for resolving conflicts amicably or amiably. Okay, Jupiter in the 7th house from the moon, it gives you a king-sized ego. Okay, it gives you a king-sized ego. But the most important is that it can make you severely impotent. Okay, I have a couple who who are family friends basically, and the wife is always crying that I don't have a kid, this and that. Okay, and then she broke off from that. She broke off from that marriage, and now she is married again. And both of them, both first husband and the second husband, have Jupiter in the 7th house. And then she was again complaining of the same thing. I don't have children. Why I don't have children? And finally, when I checked, it makes one important. Okay, I did not have the combinations of either of them, but it is a fact. Okay, Jupiter in the 7th house can make you important. If it is happening for a female, it can make you, yeah, it is karmic. It can make you be like a log whenever you are on your bed with your partner, and that is a big turn off. Okay, if a female is being like a log, for the male it can be a big turn, and that happens with Jupiter in the 7th house. Okay, then it can also, but this is a good position to give you leadership of the family. That means you may be a young guy in the family, but if you have Jupiter in the 7th, everyone will listen to you. Everyone in the family will listen to whatever you say. Okay, then Jupiter in the 8th house. So this is a combination for getting diabetes very easily. It also makes you very selfish. Okay, but it can also make you earn, it can also make you inherit other people's money. Okay, so I have a colleague who has Jupiter in the 8th house, and she had an aunt, and the aunt did not have any money basically, but she was very fond of her aunt. And then she took care of her aunt for almost 5 years. Her aunt used to do everything on the bed itself, and this lady, she did not get married actually to take care of her aunt, and she was doing that for for almost 5 years. And then finally, when the aunt died, no one thought that this would happen, but the aunt said that I have a sum of around 5 crores to give you. And she was just, the money just landed up for her. She just came across that money all of a sudden because she had been so good towards her aunt. All right, so this is Jupiter in the 8th from the moon. Okay, Jupiter in the 9th house from the moon, so it makes you wealthy, it makes you virtuous, and it makes you serve your guru and gods. Okay, Jupiter in the 10th house from the moon, so this is a combination for sannyas. Okay, that means you can leave your wife and sons to become a tapasvi. Okay, then Jupiter in the 11th house from the moon, it makes you, it blesses you with children. It blesses you with vehicles, but it also gives diseases because 11th house is the house of diseases. Okay, Jupiter in the 12th house from the moon, so it makes one opposed to his relatives. Okay, but then it brings you a lot of money if this 12th house Jupiter from the moon aspects the 6th house. Okay, or is in the 6th house. All right, then we have Venus. I have moon, I have 10th house Jupiter from the moon. So it will not happen with everyone. This is what has been given by Parashara, but it is not going to happen to everyone. But do let me know if you feel that you should leave your house for good and then never come back. All right. Next is Venus. In the first house from the moon, again, this is a combination for Annapurna Yoga. Okay, Venus, moon together in the first house or in the seventh house, it is Annapurna Yoga. Okay, it's actually very good because then you don't have to worry about your food ever. You'll always get food somehow. Okay, you'll always get food somehow. Even if you are in the desert, you'll get food. You'll still get food. Even if you are, in a place where there is no money, you'll still get food. Somehow you will land up with food. Okay. So, but then it makes you a candidate for paralysis. Okay, because it is a lot of Jala Tattva that comes in. Okay. Jupiter in the second house. Sorry, Venus in the second house from the moon. So this gives you wealth, and it also makes you a poet. Okay, because Venus is the Karaka for poetry. I have seen people having Venus in the second house from the moon have very wonderful eyes, because one of the names for Venus that has been given by Parashara is Sulokchana. Okay, Sulokchana means beautiful eyes. Okay, Sulokchana. Yes, moon plus Venus is for beauty as well, but that usually happens more if it is in the seventh house. Okay, because then they are looking directly at the ascendant. Okay. Then Venus in the third house from the moon, so it makes you very fickle-minded. It can make you have a loose character. Okay, but it can also make you work with foreigners or work with people from different religion. Okay, for example, I have this client who works in Saudi Arabia. Okay, and all of his colleagues are Muslims, right? So he has this Venus in the third house from the moon. Okay, and then Venus in the fourth house from the moon, so it can give you problems with kapha. Okay, kapha, that means watery issues. It can make you, it can make your heart very weak. And unfortunate as it sounds, most of the people who are forced to live in old age homes, they will have Venus in the fourth from the moon. Okay, see if it happens with any of you, or if it happens with any of your relatives. Okay, Venus in the fifth house from the moon, this gives you, daughters, many daughters. Basically, it makes you rich, but then, even if you're rich, you'll not exhibit your wealth before others. Okay, you'll like to keep your wealth to yourself, within yourself. Okay, Venus in the sixth house from the moon, it makes you lack appreciation from your spouse. This is a severe problem. Okay, and then it can also make you, if don't get into fights. If you have Venus in the sixth house from the moon, it can make you lose your battles. Okay, and the remedy to do, how, if you have Venus in the sixth from the moon and then you're not getting appreciation from the spouse, the remedy is to give shoes to your spouse. Okay, it's a very effective remedy. Try it out. Okay, give shoes to your spouse if you have Venus in the sixth from your moon. Okay, Venus in the seventh house from the moon, so it makes you lose direction. It makes you directionless. Okay, it makes you very suspicious. It gives you a very suspicious nature. Okay, Venus in the seventh house from the moon can also give you a very suspicious spouse. That means you will not do anything and the spouse will suspect you for everything. Okay, Venus in the eighth house from the moon, it gives you fame. It gives you a very good healing ability. Okay, because Venus is Sukracharya, the healer who has the knowledge of Mahamrityunjaya, and eighth house is the house of death. Okay, so it makes you it makes your body have very good healing abilities. All right, Venus in the ninth house from the moon, so it it makes you lose direction because of women. It makes you lose direction because of your spouse. Okay, and it can also make you indulge in Devi worship. Venus in the 10th house from the moon, you will find it very difficult to complete whatever tasks you have started. Okay, but this is a good place where, the mother and the wife can get a lot of comfort from the native. Okay, Venus in the 11th house from the moon, so you will get into problems because of women. Okay, you'll get into problems because of women, but it also gives you a long life. All right, Venus in the 12th house from the moon, so the person will be seeking pleasure in everything that they do. Okay, for example, they are working in an office, right? They are working in an office, so what happens? They will see how comfortable that workspace is. They're going somewhere And I've seen Venus, people having Venus 12 from the moon, they will go somewhere, and then what will happen is they will, you know, they will cancel the hotel because the hotel is not comfortable enough. Okay, this is Venus in the 12th from the moon. Okay, but the 8th house is not good. I didn't understand why it is good. 8th from the moon. See, the thing is that 8th house is the house of death. It is the house of transformation. People say it is not good because people are very resistant to change. Okay, that is the reason Saturn is the Karaka for the 8th house. It transforms you. It changes you. Okay, it changes you. So if you are willing to accept that change, then you will be happy. Okay, Amitabh Bachchan has so many planets in the 8th house, right? So has he got a bad life? Not at all. Okay, if you're willing to change, if you're willing to transform, then the 8th house gives good effects. Okay, the most difficult combination is when your Navamsha, when your Navamsha Lagna is the 8th house of the D1 Lagna. Just try having that, you will be feeling all the all the changes coming and crashing down on you, right? Then we have Saturn. Okay, so the most misunderstood planet. Okay, Saturn is the easiest planet to deal with. If you can, Saturn is all about conservation. Saturn is all about letting go. Okay, but letting go is something that most people find to be very painful. That is the reason Saturn becomes very, very traumatic for everyone. People cannot let go of old habits, of old conditionings, of old relationships. But Saturn does not ask you to let go of everything. It asks you to let go of only those things which are not working. Okay, but people cannot let go. That is the reason Saturn becomes a very traumatic planet. Most of the astrologers, the first question that they ask, most of the clients, sorry, not astrologers, the first questions that they ask, how is my Saturn? Saturn's position does not matter as long as you are willing to change, as long as you're willing to let go. Saturn is going to give you good results. Okay. Saturn in the first house with the moon. So this is, Saturn will starve. See, everything of all the planets, Saturn will starve that planet which it gets associated with. So Saturn in the first house from the moon, it makes you, very emotionally vulnerable. Okay, it makes you very emotionally malnourished. Okay, it makes you emotionally, it makes you have a lot of unreconciled emotions. Okay, it makes you have a lot of trauma when it comes to dealing with, with your childhood, right? And if it is very closely associated with the moon, it makes you have separative tendencies. That means I have to run away from my home. Okay, people have called it as wish yoga. Why wish yoga? Because if you have Saturn in the first house from the moon, Saturn will take away all the things that the moon stands for: nourishment, emotional fulfillment, happiness, money, everything. Okay, so Saturn starves the moon in the first house. So this is a very adverse placement to have. All right. And you have a problem with everything. Saturn, Venus, you have a problem with relationships. Saturn, Moon, you have a problem with everything because, as I said, the Moon is the Karaka for Raja Yogas in the chart. Saturn in the second house from the Moon. So this is not good for your mother. And what happens is the mother can die at childbirth. And as a result, Parashara gives a very, a cryptic verse. It says that the native lives on cow milk or goat milk. What does that mean? It means the native will be deprived of mother's milk. So the mother can die at childbirth. Okay. Saturn in the third house from the moon. So this is not good for children. Okay. This is not good for, especially female children. Okay. Saturn in the fourth house from the moon. So it gives you a lot of purushartha. Okay. What are the four arthas? Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So it makes you strive for all of them single-handedly. Okay. Saturn in the fifth house from the moon. So this gives a very, this gives a very dark complexion spouse. Okay. It makes you sweet-tongued, however. Okay. Saturn in the sixth house from the moon. So this is a condition that is given by Parashara to be Alpa Ayu. Alpa Ayu means short-lived. All right. And it can also give you many troubles. Okay. Troubles coming from enemies, troubles coming from loans, troubles coming from, lack of money and so on. Saturn in the 7th house from the moon. So this makes you religious. This makes you generous. Okay. But it can give you, it can give you multiple marriages. Saturn in the 8th house from the moon. So this will force you to change against your wish. Okay. It can be very traumatic for the father as well. That means, if you have Saturn in the 8th from the moon, your father will make a lot of losses after your birth. Okay. And the remedy is, if you have Saturn in the 8th from the moon, the remedy is to donate something or the other anytime, anytime you get the opportunity, or every time you get the opportunity. Okay. Saturn in the 9th house from the moon. So this is not good for, for dharma. Okay. This is not good for following your own path. In SSS, I spoke about finding your, finding your own kingdom. Saturn in the 9th house will prevent you from finding that kingdom. It will make you slog in someone else's kingdom. And then you will spend your entire life thinking, I never found my kingdom. Okay. I never found my true calling, basically. Okay. And Saturn, if you have a 9th house Saturn, if your Saturn is present in the 9th house on the moon, be very careful in Saturn Dasha and Saturn under Dasha. It will make you lose a lot of wealth. Okay. Saturn in the 10th house from the moon. So this is good, but it makes you very close-minded. That means you will not be open enough to understand or implement new ideas. You'll never be open enough to take different paths, to explore new ways of working. Okay, it also makes you very miserly. Saturn in the 11th house from the moon, it makes you commit, deeds which are antisocial. Okay, it can also bring you a lot of vata related diseases, for example, arthritis, because arthritis is nothing but inflammation of the bones, Parkinson's, inflammation of the nerves, and so on. Okay, Saturn is the 12th from the moon. So this is bad for marital, this is bad for marital pleasure. It is bad for bed pleasures. Okay, so if you have Saturn in the 12th from the moon, every time you start off having a, you think of about having a physical interaction with the spouse, all of a sudden some argument will brew up, and then you will feel, why did I even have this argument? After the argument is over, you'll actually feel, why did I even have this argument? Okay, Saturn in the 6th from the moon, goodbye. Well, that does not work exactly. Even I have Saturn in the 6th from the moon. Okay, so I'll live beyond 100, that I know. Okay, but anyways. Then Rahu. Okay, so Parashara does not give, Parashara does not give much results for Rahu. Okay, but Rahu has to be looked at very differently. Okay, Rahu has to be looked very differently from when you speak about Rahu and Ketu, the nodes have to be looked very differently. So I'll not give the results for Rahu and Ketu right now, because Parashara mentions very little about them. But we will have a special class on what Rahu means and what Ketu means later on. Okay. So this is about the planets in different signs, different houses from the moon. In the next class, we'll be looking at planet in different signs. That means, how does the sun behave in Aries? How does the moon behave in Taurus? How does Mars behave in Capricorn? And so on. Okay. So those will be another set of predictive principles that will be shared with you. Okay. So any questions till here? Yes, Shannon.
Yeah. Okay. So this all applied to the D9 as well, right?
Yes. It will imply in a way to D9. But as I said, don't go to the D9 right now. Just have, just get comfortable with the D1 at the moment. Okay. D9 is read very differently. As much as I want to teach how to read D9, I know people will then start intermixing things together. Okay.
Yeah, I know. So can you please run Mercury in the 10th again from the moon?
Yeah, Mercury in the 10th from the moon, it makes you a very good worker when it comes to executing short-term plans. Okay, for example, say if you have a big task, Mercury in the 10th from the moon enables you to break up that big tasks into a multiple number of small tasks, and you can complete those things.
Okay, and you also mentioned that Which planet is responsible for a sleep disorder? That's Mercury, right?
Yes, it is Mercury. It is Mercury.
So would that cause like sleepwalking as well?
No, sleepwalking is mainly caused by Rahu. Okay, if Rahu is being impacted by Mercury, or if Rahu is being aspected by Mercury, or if Mercury is in a Rahu Vian nakshatra, only then sleepwalking tendencies can happen.
Okay, yeah, that happened to me when I was a kid. I ended up all in the streets. My grandmom used to, actually had to put a bolt on the door because I would get up at night, open the door, walk out, even in the streets.
Right. It also
Yeah,
happens
but
when you
I
have,
got over it though.
yeah, it
On
also
my own.
happens when you have Mars and Ketu.
Okay, so that's what it is. I guess I was looking for them. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, then. So I don't think we have any questions. Okay, good. So thank you so much for joining in. And as I had mentioned yesterday during the Kala Sarpa class, we will have the next topic on nakshatras. Okay, the next classes will be on nakshatras. So it's going to be a long haul for each one of us, but it will be interesting as well. Okay, thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you next week. Namaste. Om Guru Namaha.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.